Welcome back, everybody, to Nnscra Radio here at 1620 WCBM Studios booth. I'm Seth Cole, and bringing you the hard-hitting facts of what went on in yesterday's Talladega Superspeedway race, the last race of round 2, the elimination race, which determined the 8 drivers that move on to round number 3 in the chase for the championship. Now, we already talked in the last segment about Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s elimination and what went on there with the timing of the caution flag coming out and everything to end the race. However, there are 2 other drivers that have been eliminated from the chase for the championship that are very notable. They are Joe Gibbs Racing teammates Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth. Now, both those drivers, after the race was over, called out another fellow chaser at the time, Kevin Harvick, claiming that he intentionally caused a wreck on that green-white checkered attempt, once the cars were past the start-finish line, in order to be able to pick up enough spots to be able to make his way into the chase for the championship with a sour engine. I will admit that I was amongst those who, upon looking at the replays after the race, thought Kevin Harvick was pretty much doing exactly the thing that Hamlin and Kenseth said. I also, however, took into account the fact that Matt Kenseth and Denny Hamlin were both caught up in the wreck that was started by Kevin Harvick with his contact with the 6 of Trevor Bayne. The other thing that also seemed to kind of almost play into the favor of that argument that Harvick did cause the incident on purpose was the fact that on the waved-off attempt of the green-white checkered, Kevin Harvick moved out of the way to the high side, allowing drivers to go on by. On the actual green-white checkered attempt, he kept his spot in line. Now, according to NASCAR, that was Kevin Harvick's prerogative, even though he did have a sour engine, and according to what they were saying, he could not get up any higher than 30 miles per hour. Now, in my opinion, first off, I understand that it's his prerogative. I understand he's trying to get into the chase for the championship, but when you've got a field that's going to be able to get up to 190 plus miles per hour, and you're only able to go 30 miles per hour, there's going to be some kind of a stack up behind you, and you got to know that's the case. So, do I think that Kevin Harvick caused the wreck intentionally? No, but he put himself in a potentiality to be able to cause a wreck. There's no doubt about that. The fact that he stayed in his line when the green flag came out, knowing that his car was not going to be able to get up through the gears, he set himself up for a potentiality to be able to cause a wreck. Do I think he caused it intentionally? Well, you can't really say he caused it intentionally, but he put the scenario out there. That's the definite fact for sure. The fact that he dropped to the back of the pack before, which kind of surprised me. Here's the interesting thing. Why did he drop to the back on the first attempt at the green-white checker when it was waved off? He clearly was willing to give up the spots there. He knew that he was going to have the engine problem. He gave up the spots. Why didn't he do it on the second time? Because we cannot say for sure Kevin Harvick knew there was going to be a wave-off and he was going to get another attempt at a green-white checkered. There's no way that he could have known that. Nobody knew that. So the fact that he dropped to the high side on the first restart, which was supposed to be the only green-white checkered, and then of course he got waved off, why on the second one didn't he give up his spots again? Or at least move up to the high side? Okay, that's my questioning there. The mentality there just didn't make sense to me. He was willing to do it on the first green-white checkered attempt, which was waved off. If there had not been a wave off, Kevin Harvick would have been on the outside line, everybody would have gone by him, Harvick would have lost the spots. Here he's got a redemption shot here, with that green-white checker being waved off, another green-white checker now to attempt, he keeps his spot in line. Where was the mentality there? That's what I don't understand. Because you gotta keep in mind, that waved off green-white checkered was going to be the only attempt at a green-white checkered, and he moved to the high side. He didn't do it the restart after. That's what I don't understand. Okay? Did he cause the wreck intentionally? Perhaps not. I'm not going to go one way or the other on this. But what I am going to go on is the fact that he left the door open for a wreck to happen when he kept his spot in line after getting the redemption of having another green-white checker. So, I looked over the replays, I looked over the footage. There are arguments in Harvick's favor that he was never looking in his rearview mirror, so he probably never saw Trevor Bayne making the move on the outside of him. Yes, they had taken the opportunity to let drivers know behind them, hey, we have a bad engine, we can't get up through the gears, watch out for us. Alright, so they had at least done that. But the big argument that the fans that are anti-Harvick, as well as Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth, and a couple other drivers apparently that got in touch with NASCAR, is that Kevin Harvick, after Trevor Bayne got to his outside, he moves up and gets into Trevor Bayne, causing the incident. Okay. We're going to try and look at this as objectively as possible. Let's go to the first scenario. What if Kevin Harvick did intentionally turn up into Trevor Bayne? Alright, let's put this on a different level playing field here then. Let's go back last season. It's round 3. Final race of round 3, Phoenix. Ryan Newman has to pass Kyle Larson in order to make his way into the next round, into the Final Four at Homestead Miami Speedway. What does he do? He drives it all the way down to the apron. He drives it hard into turns 3 and 4, slides up the racetrack into Kyle Larson, puts Kyle Larson in the wall, makes his way in. Now, people are going to probably say, well, that was a racing thing, and he didn't really wreck Kyle Larson. Well, he went all out. He made a move, in some ways a controversial move, to get his way into the chase for the championship. It wasn't quite on the same level as what Kevin Harvick did. And again, I'm not saying Harvick did it on purpose, but I'm trying to put this into perspective of if he did. I'm not really taking my opinion one way or the other, saying blatantly, yes, he did it, or no, he didn't do it. I'm trying to remain as objective as I can in this situation. But going back to the point I was making, Ryan Newman made a desperation move to be able to get himself into the Final Four, to be able to battle for the championship at Homestead Miami Speedway at the expense of Kyle Larson. Now, if we're looking at this at the same scenario with Kevin Harvick keeping his place in line, getting into the 6, could also be classified as a desperation move in order to keep his back-to-back championship hopes alive. Now, more than likely, not many people would have looked at Ryan Newman's move in 2014 at Phoenix as a dirty tactic move in order to keep his championship hopes alive. The fact of that mainly being probably because it was only one car that basically he was involved with, being Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson did not spin out, did not wreck. He basically had a sandwich-looking car afterwards, but he kept his car straight and all that. The thing that I think really erupted this whole thing for Kevin Harvick is the fact that this is Talladega Superspeedway. He was up, I think he restarted either 10th or 12th. He was up near the front. So there were a number of drivers behind him. And the contact that he caused, obviously, is Talladega Superspeedway, and it caused a big wreck. The fact that the end result with what Harvick did, as opposed to the desperation move that Ryan Newman pulled off, I think was the big deciding factor into people thinking, wow, this was definitely intentional. Alright, now let's look at this again from another perspective. Harvick. Let's say again that it was on purpose. What difference did it really put into the end result of who moved into the next round and who didn't? Alright, let's look at this as objectively as possible. The drivers involved in the incident, the two chasers, Matt Kenseth and Denny Hamlin. With where Matt Kenseth was, let's be honest, was Matt Kenseth going to win the race? It was a win or nothing scenario for Kenseth. Was he going to win that race in 2 laps time? There's no way he was going to get up there to the front. With Logano and Jr. up there at the front, there's no way he would have been able to make his way by either one of them. So, moot point. Kenseth caught up in the wreck. There's no way he would have made the next round of the chase anyway. Alright, let's move to Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, self-inflicted wound in the Talladega Superspeedway race. The roof hatch, to allow drivers easy evacuation out of their cars if they're involved in a wreck rather than having to go out the driver's side window. Somehow the latch gets broken. They have to come to pit road. They have to repair it. There were some communication problems between himself and the team, or the team in NASCAR. I'm not sure which one it was, but there were some communication problems where they thought they did have to come down pit road and fix it. Apparently NASCAR telling them they had to formulate a plan for when they came down pit road the next time. They took it as the fact that they had to come down pit road, and they came down and lost several laps. Denny Hamlin was 3 laps down when we were getting ready for that final restart. And according to the math, he was outside of the championship hunt. The drivers that he was trying to battle to be able to keep himself in the chase for the championship were still on the lead lap. Kyle Busch was still on the lead lap. Ryan Newman was still on the lead lap. So Denny Hamlin gets caught up in that incident, but the fact of the matter remains, he was not going to move on to the next round of the chase. He was 3 laps down, so there goes the scenario of him winning the race. And he was 3 laps down, so there goes the scenario of him passing anybody of any worth, chase-wise, on the racetrack in those last 2 laps. The only 2 drivers that he could have passed were David Reagan and Landon Castle, who were both also either 2 or 3 laps down along with him. That's it. So then the big question mark is Ryan Newman. Well, that one we don't really know about. Could Ryan Newman have worked himself up close enough to the front to be able to have moved his way into the next round of the chase for the championship in those last 2 laps if it were a full green-white checker finish? Possibly. The driver he would have had to have caught up to was Kyle Busch, and I don't really have him in front of me, so I don't know what the official results were. I don't know where Kyle was in relation to Ryan Newman on that restart. However, there was a point made by Jeff Burton during the broadcast yesterday where if you start back 24th, the momentum is going forward rather than being stuck in the middle and going backwards. And I think Kyle Busch, if I remember correctly, finished somewhere just inside the top 10, somewhere around 7th, 8th, 9th, something like that. And Ryan Newman, I can only assume, was back somewhere maybe in the 20s, maybe the late teens. So that's the big question mark for that driver is, would he have been able to work his way up there close enough to Kyle Busch, and would that have been a battle between the two? All right. So, Ryan Newman's the question mark. Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth are immediate X's. There's no way that they were going to make it into the next round of the chase. And then you got Dale Earnhardt Jr. And I made a little bit of an alludement to this point back in the first segment of this broadcast. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was like Matt Kenseth. It was basically you need to win scenario. And when you think about it, Dale Earnhardt Jr. this season has been plagued by pit penalties. The team really has only stepped out and made themselves known at restricted plate tracks. This is Talladega Superspeedway. This is the 23rd race, or not 23rd, I'm sorry, 33rd. 33rd race of the season. No, it's not. It's the 32nd. 32nd race of the season. And 32nd race of the season, and it's the last restricted plate stop that we're going to be making. There are no more restricted plate tracks after this. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. has certainly shown that he can shine at restricted plate tracks. Well, here, since the chase began, he hasn't really shown that he's able to shine at the mile-and-a-half racetracks, the short tracks, which are tracks that we're going to next. We're going to Martinsville. We're going to Phoenix. We're going to Texas before the season finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. So the fact of the matter is, yeah, if Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets in, that's great. But is he going to be that much of a contender for the championship in the Final Four at Homestead Miami Speedway? Honestly, I don't see it happening. So when you think about it, yes, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was eliminated from the chase for the championship by a couple hundred feet. But if you look at it realistically, the odds that Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to be a contender for the championship in the next round were almost slim to none. So, okay, Dale Jr. gets eliminated from the chase for the championship. It almost happened in the last elimination anyway. So, so you look at it with the whole thing that went on with Kevin Harvick. Hamlin would have been eliminated anyway. Kenseth would have been eliminated anyway. Dale Jr., questionable whether he would have been eliminated or not, but more than likely wouldn't have been as much of a contender for the championship had he moved on to the next round. And then Ryan Newman, of course, is the big question mark. Would he have been able to pick up enough spots in that restart to be able to make his way into the next round? If that had been the case, and Jr. had won, then more than likely it would have been Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick who would have been eliminated from the chase for the championship. But, I don't think we're ever really going to know the answer. I did find it interesting that Kevin Harvick was not interviewed at all during the post-races interviews. But I don't know. It's a lot of interpretations that can be made from that. There's a lot of different accusations that are going to be made based off of that. It seemed awfully interesting to me that Kevin Harvick was not willing to comment on everything that went on there. And from what I understand, up to this point, I don't think he's made any official statement regarding these accusations yet. If he has, I would really like to know what it is. So anyway, that's basically all that went down as far as Kevin Harvick. So in just a moment, we're going to be taking yet one more commercial break, and then for the final segment of this, we're going to be looking towards the next 3 races in the chase for the championship and the last remaining 8 drivers that will try and get the final 4 slots at Homestead Miami Speedway. So don't go away. You're listening to Nnscra Radio here on the 1620 WCBM Studios Network. We'll be right back after this.